Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Today we're going to continue discussing a little bit about contracts and kind of some introduction pieces on what you should know, a little bits about contracts. And so today we're going to talk specifically about the subject of assignment and why this is super important to you. So stick around to the end. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell. If you want to see some other content from us, put it in the comments below. If you think I'm totally full of shit, put that in the comments below. Let's get started. Okay. So obviously a fairly important thing in business is contracts, right? I was going through hiring some people in the last week, and as I'm doing that, one of the things is to consider, what is the contractual relationship, right? You're giving some sort of an offer of employment, etc. And this is, there's a common thing. Then maybe you're going to engage with a client, and you maybe are going to have an agreement. Maybe you have a partnership. Maybe somebody's investing with you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are many different types of contracts you may have in business, and these are fairly important, okay? So in contracts, I've discussed before, there are what are called boilerplate clauses. Now, boilerplate clauses are clauses that are kind of assumed to exist if they don't regardless, but they're the ones that are standard, right? They don't tend to change. So you'll go through and they're usually at the end of a contract. And one of the ones we talked about previous was severability. Hopefully that video has gotten posted. I'm never exactly sure about the order of these things, but severability. Today we're going to talk about assignment and what does an assignment clause look like? What is the concept of it? There's also inurement. There's many of them, right? So an assignment clause is a clause that states that basically I have the ability, loosely speaking, to transfer this agreement from me to somebody else. Okay, why would you want to do this? Well, let's look at a very simple case in point using the employment contract example. Okay, let's say that we hire somebody. Okay, so we hire somebody, they're working for us. Now, at a certain point, somebody else comes along and they want to buy our company. Okay, now maybe they decide not to buy the company itself. They say, hey, listen, I don't want to have the risk of the liabilities that I don't know that you might have. I don't want to take those on. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the assets of the company. Okay, so I want to buy all the things that the company owns, the domain names, the IP, etc. And part of that is I want to take over the team, right? I'm going to take all of them and I'm going to put them into a new company. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, fair enough. Let's say that that happens. If that happens, what exactly will take place? Now, in some cases, they would need to have each employee sign a new contract with that new company, okay? This is one way that it can be done, right? And there might be a bunch of reasons why you may want to do that. But on the other hand, maybe you're like, hey, this person's kind of a pain to negotiate with. It'll be much easier to transfer it. Or, hey, listen, it's a maybe they've got a really good deal, and I'm worried that if we go and we renegotiate, we may have problems. This is, when it comes to employees, I would say it's just more the hassle that is probably likely to show up of having to go through all of this again. But you may have supplier agreements that you're like, hey, listen, we don't necessarily want to renegotiate these because something might be, maybe you had a good relationship with that company. Maybe the supplier and the company that you're buying had a good relationship with each other, and you're worried that it's an unknown entity, and so the terms might be different. Maybe something in the market has changed. Maybe for some reason that contract, the terms that you have are actually an asset that you couldn't get today. There's lots of scenarios where this could happen, okay? The same might be true the opposite way, right? Maybe you're in a situation where you have a service contract with customers, right? So customers are on a monthly service contract and it's a 3-year term, something like that. And you're worried, you want to be able to take over those contracts. Those contracts are an asset, right? So in these cases, what you would want is you would want an assignment clause, okay? And the assignment clause, now assignment might say, hey, listen, you're not allowed to assign. That's one way to go. Another way would be to say, hey, listen, I have the right to assign this contract to whatever party, so long as they are under the same terms as are in this, and so long as I inform you. That would be kind of like, loosely speaking, how this would work. And you can understand why this is very practical, right? My parents own an alarm system company, right? So they do alarm system, video surveillance, telephone system, things like this. And so they have typically 3-year contracts with their customers for alarm monitoring, right? Well, that's the main thing you're selling when you're selling that business, right? Somebody's going to come and they're going to say, hey, I want to buy your book of business. Okay, great. Well, What if I don't have ongoing contracts with them? It's not worth so much. What if I have contracts, but I can't assign them? Well, okay, you could buy the business, but when you buy a business, you're taking on all the liabilities of the business, and maybe you're not sure what those are, right? You don't know what bad work the person did 6 months or a year ago that they could end up getting sued, and now all of a sudden by buying the company, you've lost that. So you say, okay, I'm just gonna buy the contracts out, right? Being able to do that requires this assignment clause. So assignment clauses are something that I feel like people don't really pay too much attention to, but they really should. It's really like a useful thing to have in place. And sometimes the other party wants to have assignment, but they don't want you to have assignment. And there's obviously cases where that's required, and sometimes from a negotiation standpoint, they just won't let you get past that. One example I've seen for sure has been when it comes to payment processing. So the company that's providing the payment processing will be allowed to assign it, but the other party won't be allowed to assign it. And so, there's a little bit of a double standard going on there. But anyway, that's the basic principle. I think it's worth it for you to understand what these clauses are. I'm going to try and go through gradually each of them and explain them to you. Hopefully it's helpful. And yeah, if you have something that you'd like help with, if you're saying, hey, listen, I'm not quite clear on this, by all means, reach out to us. There's a link below, clarity.fm/Michael Rosmer. You can book a call with me. We can help you with international tax, asset protection, forming companies, bank accounts, residencies, citizenships, payment processing, probably a few other things that I'm missing. But yeah, click the subscribe button, check out our other videos, click the like button, share it with your friends. If you have some questions, put it in the comments below. If you have something that you'd like to see, put it in the comments below. I will see you guys on the next video.